What's up, fam? I hope everybody's been blessed today. It's a great day. It's a great day because this is still the day that the Lord has made, and absolutely we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. I want you guys to find something to rejoice about. One of the scriptures I love in the book of Philippians, it's really like a mental health book. That's what the book of Philippians in the Bible has been called, a mental health book, especially that second and that fourth chapter. But Paul says something like this: rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. He's almost redundant. It's almost like he's suggesting that sometimes you just got to make yourself rejoice because there are so many things that can force you to not rejoice and force you to be sad and force you to have melancholy and just sadness. But you got to find a way to rejoice. I tell people all the time, you got to find something to laugh about every day. I think every day you get up, you have to find something to laugh about. And in these times, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, Bible says laughter is like medicine, and I think rejoicing can help change the whole mood and your environment. So I hope that you've been happy today, that you found something, that you've been intentional about self-care and in terms of just laughing, rejoicing, relaxing, not taking everything so seriously. Hope you've been able to turn the TV off and just find something to be grateful, something to be thankful for. I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow in our Bible study lesson, noonday and 7 p.m. But I just want to, in advance, just kind of encourage you. Find something to rejoice about. Find something to be happy about. I'm so excited that you've tuned into the House of Hope's broadcast. We formed a new platform. It's called The Hope TV. And I certainly thank you for being a part of it. I want to thank our media ministry for their creativity and their hard work. And thousands upon thousands of people all over the world, literally, have been following at the Hope TV. And we've been bringing you content every day, 5-6 times a day, and trying to minister to the whole person, spiritually, physically, and mentally, emotionally. So we've been trying to be involved civically, just the whole person, to ensure that you are making it through these times and that we're feeding ourselves with the right kinds of content. So if you're watching, I want you to subscribe to the YouTube pages of At the Hope TV. Please do it now. You also can subscribe to the YouTube page of the House of Hope Atlanta. Please subscribe. And if you're watching now, I don't know the mediums through which you're watching, but you can follow At the Hope TV on all things social media. But please subscribe, like, and if you can send a link, if you're watching through Facebook or through Twitter or through Periscope, why don't you send that link to somebody, or even YouTube, send that link to somebody to let them know At the Hope TV broadcast is on the airways. I'm excited. This is one of our staple broadcasts. This show is called Single in the City, and it's been one of our hot broadcasts. People really are engaged in it and excited about it. And so if you know someone who's 40 and under, I want you to please, come on, tag them right now, send the link right now. We're going to have a great conversation today. I'm excited about the conversation. I have 3 incredible people that we're going to be hosting. I'm going to be interviewing today for our broadcast, 3 that I respect and love so dearly. All of them are Georgia natives. Go GA. And so GA is in the house. I'm excited about that. One, of course, is native. She grew up in Decatur where it's greater. Grew up and so I graduated from high school and go off to Valdosta State University. She's been a social butterfly. Back in the day, we call them socialites. Always busy, always around, seemingly an extrovert, multi-talented, and comes from a talented family. And she's now working in business for herself. Has a lot of talents, but she decided to follow a God-given path in the hair industry and the cosmetologist. And she's been licensed to do that, and she does an amazing job and has touched so many people from all walks of life. And she is just an incredible young lady, and I'm proud to know her and proud to have seen her journey. And she's going to be sharing with us. I speak another than Shar Nix. What's up, Shar? How you doing? There she
Hey,
is.
everybody
You
out
doing
there.
good? Good
I'm
to see
doing
you.
great.
Glad to have you. That's a lot we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about.
Thank you for
Yeah,
choosing
and
me.
absolutely. And we have another guest on today. She's also from Decatur, where it's greater. She grew up in Decatur, right in DeKalb County, and went on to Spelman College. AUC love in the house. And from the AUC, she decided to pursue her love for dentistry and went off and studied in San Antonio, Texas, and got more credentialing and and now she is a practicing dentist here. Young lady, she's in pediatric dentistry, and she's at the Decatur Camp Kids Dentistry here, pediatric dentistry here in DeKalb County, and she is a phenomenal young lady, and glad to have her here with us today. And that's Lanisha Camp. What's up? I'm sorry, Dr. Lanisha Camp. How you doing?
Just Lanisha.
Okay,
Glad to
all
be
right.
here this evening. Can't wait to dive in further.
Well, I got you. Well, good to see you, good to have you. And last but not least, I have another young man another man who is an important part of our panel tonight, and as these other two are, is an important part of our church family. And he's a native, I think, of Cartersville, I believe. Cartersville or Gainesville? One of the
Gainesville.
two. I'm sorry. Gainesville, thank you. Correct me. He's a native of Gainesville, Georgia, and grew up there in Gainesville. And he went on to the University of Alabama. So he's all about the roll tide and got his degree from the University of Alabama there in Tuscaloosa and moved to Atlanta, back to Georgia. He works as an executive. He's executive. He's a highfalutin guy in the banking industry, in finance. One of those types of dudes, who runs the corporate office. And yet, while I've seen him grow and I've seen his career take off in the finance and banking industry. But at the same time, he's been absolutely committed to his church family. He's one of our go-to do-it-all guys at our church. And I'm just so honored to have his heart and to be here. He's filling in for us, and because he's doing so many other things. And I'm so glad to have Corey Butts here. What's up, Corey?
What's going on? Look, they got me at the last minute, so I look a little disheveled, but y'all, deal with it.
It's all good. You're good enough. Glad to have you here. So Corey, Lanisha, and Shar, welcome all. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Good.
Doing well.
Great.
Glad
That's
to be here.
outstanding. Outstanding. I want to kind of start talking off because I think all of you are tremendous professionals in your own right. And I want to kind of talk, because I know all of you have been affected by the pandemic in terms of what you're doing from a business perspective. And I want to get right in. I'll start with you, Charmel. Charmel, you are in the hair care industry. You're a cosmetologist, and your whole family, your grandmama, your mom, your sister, your aunt, everybody, y'all just run it. And you've been doing it a long time, and you've been doing professionally. 6 years, more that you've been licensed to do this. But how has this whole pandemic affected you professionally in terms of your customers, your clients, and making some money?
It's definitely affected me because I haven't been able to go to work. Makes 3 weeks I haven't been able to go to work. But I always say it's gonna work out because it doesn't have any other choice but for it to work out. So I just been leaning on my faith and knowing that things will work out well because at this point it's just about the safety of everyone else. I miss making money. If I'm not working, I'm not making money, but it's for the greater good at this point. But you would be surprised that people keep asking me if I will come to their house. Like, I'm not going to put myself at risk for one client. I need to be healthy for all my clients when it's time to go back to work.
I'm glad you answered that question because I was going to ask you, how you doing there? I bet you've been getting all kind of calls to come to the house.
Yes, not
Yeah.
going to happen
I
for nobody.
got you. It sounds like a smart lady. You, Lanisha, you actually work with kids every day. You're in dental practice. Your business is for kids. And at this time, how has the pandemic affected you and your practice?
So I had to make the hard decision as a practice owner to officially close my practice out of a genuine concern for both public safety and social responsibility. So I decided to close my office on March 17th. And so just like any other service industry, without any patients, there's no way for us to get paid. But I have the added kind of responsibility of being mindful about not only myself but and my patients, but also my employees. So it's been interesting navigating the whole kind of small business loans and grants and things that are becoming available to small business owners like myself. and understanding different systems that I never imagined I'd have to kind of respond to, such as unemployment, kind of figuring out what to do for my staff, what to do for myself. Thank God, I have been in a position where I've been able to save. So while it's not that burdensome, it is kind of something to kind of be cautious about. But like Shar said, depending on God at all times, always remembering my faith, knowing that we will get through this. And though we're living through actual history, it's nothing I can do to control it. So why stress over it?
That's a great perspective. Have you heard anything from any of your clients? Like, what happens if somebody gets an emergency or something right now?
Yeah.
What's
So
that process been like?
while I'm closed for routine kind of dental procedures, I still have to be there for different. So I've been answering any kind of virtual consultation. I've been getting involved in teledentistry to kind of remotely kind of triage any kind of dental emergencies, making the decision of what actually qualifies as a dental emergency now. We've been getting assistance from the American Dental Association and different things like that. So patients are aware, but making sure they know that we're always available. We're always in contact with them through social media, through virtual dentistry, teledentistry, regular old phone calls to the office. So I had to still do those responsibilities every day. Also, while maintaining my professional knowledge by doing continuing education classes, staying abreast on what's changing because of COVID-19, what to anticipate when we actually get to open back up.
So let me ask you this question. So what happens if a kid is playing at the house with his brother or with his sister, and somebody throws a ball and hits him in the mouth, and messes the teeth up, knocks a few teeth out? What happens if a kid has an emergency right now?
So in that instance, they should contact their dental provider, and that is an actual dental emergency. Like a toothache without swelling, that's not truly a dental emergency. But if you've broken a tooth, you've knocked out a tooth, that is something that warrants you to follow up your dental provider. And so we are here. We have to take the extra precautions of being, prepared to treat you through proper PPE, protecting you and protecting ourselves. So we're here for you. I'm sure every dental office is dealing with these emergencies, especially with kids, because it happens all the time during any kind of break. No holds bars with kids. They're doing their own thing and having a good time despite the pandemic. But we're here to take care of those things. Parents need to be aware. Don't be cautious. Don't be hesitant. Always reach out. We're always here.
Great. Corey, I'll ask you this. You work in banking, you work in finance, and everybody is, I got so frustrated the other day when I went to the bank and the line was, I didn't know that you couldn't go inside the bank, and I need to transact some business, and the line was wrapped all the way around drive-through, man. I had a major meltdown because I'm not one of these online kind of guys. So what's happening right now with finance? Because I'm sure some other people besides me are like tripping. Like, what's going on with the bank? How's this affected the industry?
Right. So, I would see you, of course, all the time when I was at the branch level. And so things are a lot different because of COVID-19, we can't, on the branch level at least, have clients come in that way. Now I'm in consumer lending, so I'm in a different area with a credit union, but so I don't really see clients like I did before, when I would see you. So that's not something that I have to worry about. But on for the branches that do, it's totally changed their whole way of day-to-day operations. And you're right. The drive-throughs are off the chain. They are wrapped around the corner. Been really crazy at that level. And then for me being in lending now, we're getting now the influx of people who need loans because of either being furloughed at work or being laid off at work, or hours being cut. As you can imagine, we're getting calls of people that are like, oh my God, I need an emergency $2,000, or I need whatever. Even people trying to refinance their cars because they need to shave off some of that money that they're paying monthly on that car payment. So It's been crazy because this is something I know for me, for all of us, it's uncharted territory, something that we've never experienced before in our lifetimes, you know. And I mean, I thought back, I was having a conversation with some friends about the fact that, you know, we've had what, like Ebola, and we've had, you know, H1N1 and Zika and all of these different other viruses that we've heard of, but never that I can remember has there been a time where they're like, oh, you can't go anywhere, or you need to stay at home, or the restaurants are closed and movie theaters are closed. It's like, what, you know? So it really has upended just the way that we operate on a day-to-day basis. You know, I've been pretty much working at home, so that's been interesting. And I'm gonna be honest, I do not like working at home. It's not. It wasn't when they whoever made up working at home. They didn't have me in mind because I'm too hyper. It's not. I need to be in a place where it looks like work. This don't look like work. Home does not look like work. Does not feel like work, and so it's hard for me to get in that mode. I have to like make myself get into that mindset, and I don't enjoy it. I'm gonna be honest, but I know there are plenty of people who do it, you know, and that's just what they do, and it's no big deal. It just wasn't really made for me, I don't believe. But I'm thankful, you know, and grateful that I'm able to do it. You know, I'm able to, you know, at least work or whatever. But at the same time, it's tough, and it's a definite adjustment. But I know for people that normally will want to be able to go in, you know, and have that personal contact, they can't have that right now, and that's really hard.
Let me ask you this question, Corey. That's a great point. You know, Lisa talked about it. Char's in business. You know, I pastor a church. You know, run 2, 3 businesses myself. I'm an entrepreneur. In terms of this whole CARE Act piece, where people can apply for the grants, whether it be through the
Mhm.
Small Business Administration, et cetera, how does that interface with what you're doing in terms of consumer lending? Have you had to familiarize yourself with that process in terms of what qualifies somebody to get some of these loans?
Right. Well, with the actual business loan, I'm not in the business lending side, so that's not really. I usually will refer them to someone, you know, in that department so that they give them the right information because I'll tell you the wrong thing. But what we have done is we have helped out with some furlough loans. So it's like an automatic loan just for those people that, you know, have gone through that situation. We did it once before when there was the government shutdown. Not too long, like maybe a year or so ago, the last government, was been so many, but the last government shutdown, we offered one as well. So that's something that we've been trying to offer as well. But as far as business loan, you know, I don't really deal with that side.
Gotcha. Good. Lanisha, I want to ask you, I want to jump in with you because here you are, um, single lady, single in the city, entrepreneur,
Yeah.
business owner, you know, and not all of your ability to get out to socialize, you know, you and your friends get out, go out every Friday, have, you know, dinner or have, you know, just get out and kind of unwind a little bit. How are you navigating having all this time on your hand and can't get with your friends, can't socialize, can't fellowship, and not in a serious relationship right now? How are you navigating all those realities?
So I think what really keeps me going is just making sure that I'm balancing my day. Um, I've taken up new things like working out, starting my day with a workout that I never used to do, never wanted to do, but I feel something beneficial should come out of this. Taking some time to do some of the things that I never really get to do on any regular basis, or a task that I might not really be interested in doing on a regular basis, like cleaning out my closet, organizing some different areas in my house. So, things like that can keep you busy. But there are things that you can do to socialize with your friends. Like we have a weekly Zoom call, our house party chat, a happy hour on Zoom with my friends, FaceTime calls with guys that you might have been dating before, casually, or, different things like that, making sure you stay in touch with your family members who you haven't been in touch with for a while, getting back in touch with them. I think the time is a blessing. It's a time for reset. It's a time for, self-evaluation. I think it's a blessing to have this amount of free time now. Do I want it to go on forever? By no means. I am kind of being a little bit weary when people say this is going to go on to the end of but right now it's afforded me a lot of time to get to do some things that I've been meaning to work on for a while.
Corey, let me ask you that question because you are not just now, you really have cabin fever. You don't like working at home. And now you're working at home, you're not traveling back to Gainesville. You do everything in the church from worship in the arts to drama to media and communications. I mean, whatever we need, trying to get you with the finance. So we depend on you for so much in church. So how are you navigating this time, in terms of personal, your personal life?
Really just trying to get in. I mean, it's sad to say it's almost like a routine of home life almost. Trying to find things, and outlets. I have a dog, so that's a good thing for me actually because it forces me to go outside the house. I literally have like taking him on some long walks to the point where he's looking at me like, bro, like, can we go back in the house, please? So doing things like that. I haven't quite gotten to the exercise routine. I need to do that or whatever. That's probably the most, the bulk of the exercise. I'm just saying, to be honest.
You went on a
And
walk.
I literally, exactly. See what I'm saying? And I have been cooking my tail off. Like, I mean, I love to cook anyway, but I haven't eaten out since this whole thing has been going on. And so I literally been cooking, and I mean, like all day long, like like I got a family of 4 or something. And so that has been taking up some of the time as well. I mean, and as Alicia said, keeping up with friends, doing some like multiple FaceTime calls. It's like, I did a Zoom with, we did actually a thing like this with some of the praise team members this past week. We had a Zoom call at one point as well, but, doing some things like that, keeping busy, just with all the different things. I even talked to Benton today, who's over our social media team, just about some things that he may have me to do just to kind of stay in the realm of what I was doing before, with social media for the church, just to keep me, keep it relevant, keep those things relevant or whatever. So things like that as much as possible. I mean, it's been very tough for me because I do enjoy being able to just do the things that I do. And I can be a homebody, not to say that I don't like spending time at home, because I do, because I can be a homebody, but I like to know that I can go when I want to go. I like to know that I can leave when I want to leave and go, hang out with friends or do the things that I want to do when I want to do it. And because you telling me I can't, that's what makes it really hard.
Yeah. Sure, your situation is a little different. It's interesting, 'cause, like the rest I've known, I've seen all of your journeys. I think I've seen your journey a little longer, Char. When I met you, you were, in high school, probably 15 years old, 14, 15 when I met you. And what's interesting is you've always been footloose and fancy free and a social butterfly and going to New York and hanging out and happy hour and spend time Sunday brunch. You probably got a mimosa on your desk now, I'm sure.
I don't.
Mimosa with the minister. That's what I should have called it, not single in the city. Mimosa with your minister. I
I
bet you
felt
probably got a
like that
I
might
wish
mimosa
be
I
a
did.
little bit inappropriate. You should
Yeah,
have
and
told me I
so what
could.
was interesting. Yeah, and what was interesting, I seen guys try to get your attention, and Andre and I, we pride ourselves on being matchmakers, and we tried to hit guys to, and try to make some love connections between. And and I've never seen you express interest in anybody, never brought anybody around. But then a little while ago, I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Quez, and I was just blown away because I've known you all these years and never seen you with anybody, never, in church. And so now, all the pandemic goes crazy, but now you navigate a little different because you're dating seriously right now. How is the dating life going with all this stuff that's happening now with you now?
Well, it's weird because even though we've both been quarantining, it's still very uncomfortable. I'm used to having like 10 hugs a day from people at the salon. But we're even weird about like hugging each other because it's like, don't breathe in my face. Did you wash your hands when you walked in the house? Like, so it's just been a little bit. We're both a little experiencing a little anxiety because of this COVID-19 stuff. So it's just like kind of managing one another's personalities to make sure we're not smothering the other, which he has let me know I have been doing. Because I'm very weird about like germs before COVID-19. So it's been stepped up a level now that it's like you need to watch everything about you, wipe down your phone when you walk in this house, take off your shoes. Like it's on another level. But also, I never brought anybody to church because that's just like my extended family. And no dude has ever met my family except for him. I wasn't gonna keep introducing people to my family so my grandma can keep asking about them forever. 3 years later. No, I introduced him because I was really serious and I figured y'all would take it more seriously because y'all never met anybody before.
Yeah, I mean, 16
Did you
years,
take it
I've never
serious?
seen you with anybody. Yeah, 16 years. I've been knowing you almost 17, be 16 and a half years, and I've never
Okay.
seen you with anybody but him. So, yeah, amazing. Let me ask you this, Sharmell, because I think I want to get into that. I'm going to ask you all these questions in a moment, but since we're with you, it's a great segue. While I'm on that, you, not just a happy-go-lucky, you've matured a lot in terms of being more settled now. I'm not gonna call you uh, irresponsible pre-quiz,
I
uh,
was a
but
little.
that's probably the best word I can think of right now. It just not you just I don't know what the word. I mean, just free, and not very serious in terms of, I think, relationship. I believe that's a good way to put it, and not trying to commit, not trying to be settled down. But what was interesting is I understand that when you start dating him, that Quez had a stroke, and you're young, you're in your 20s, I mean, at the time he had a stroke, and uh, and some of those physical challenges may affect him for the rest of his life. How does that feel in terms of making a decision, or did you worry about him physically, or did you think about what this means to be in a serious relationship with somebody who had a stroke at this age? How did you handle that? Because I think that's a good point. Because some people may see it as a deal breaker, or because it was a very mature thing when I heard the story. How did you process that, dating someone at this age who had a stroke?
Well, when we dated initially, like we met on my 30th birthday and we dated for a couple months. I was already in love. He was like, this is not what I signed up for. I thought this was just fun. We parted ways. When we came back
Wow.
together, like 4 months later, he made it clear, like, I love you. I'm ready to do this with you. So at that point, I was kind of a little locked in. But when he had stroke, I did hear from a lot of people like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Like, you don't have to stay in this. This might be a forever thing. Like, because he did suffer some deficits initially when he came home. But it was like at that point, it was like I loved him even more. And
Wow.
I'm just a risk taker naturally. So it's like, what's the worst that can happen? And this is so extreme. What's the worst that can happen? He can die. That's terrible. But at least I was so in love and I got to experience this love like this. Um, but fortunately, he has made a full recovery. His stroke was stress induced because he has been bearing the financial responsibility of his family since he was middle school, high school. So
Wow.
Wow.
fortunately for us, being together, he brought out the maturity and responsibility in me that I was needing to take my business to the next level. In the past like year, my clientele has like grown drastically. I've made more money than I ever had before. And it was really because he pushed me harder to take more responsibility and to do more than just being complacent with living at a regular life. I never wanted to live a regular life, and he didn't either. So we were able to balance each other. Instead of him overextending himself for others, he needed to take time to work on himself. And I was able to go through that process with him. And mind you, before this, I would have never thought I would be this girl that was standing by her man and taking care of him. I'm like looking up therapy stuff for us to do, and I got to put you back together. And I'm just not that girl naturally. This was definitely, I say, God worked on him and God worked on me to bring us together, because had we dated 5 years ago, I'm like, I would have ate you alive. Like, this wouldn't have been where it is now. But I just had to see who I wanted to be as a person before I even knew him. But it helped me become this person that I was able to be there for him and be there for myself.
That's awesome.
That's great. I think that's a great question. Lanisha, when you think about dating, right?
Okay.
Because we all have what we call our deal breakers or our essentials versus our non-essentials. And not too many 30-year-olds, would have said, I'm going to date a guy who's had a stroke, and stay with him because it was real serious. I mean, he was on a cane for a while, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that could frighten a lot of people away. So in terms of you, have you ever thought about what are your deal breakers? What are your things that you got to have in terms of dating? And what are the things that you can live with? What are the things you can live without, Lanisha?
I think I was talking to the producer before. Like, I don't have a whole lot of deal breakers because I think people are fluid and change a lot. And so be unacceptable today might be acceptable at a different part in your relationship. But I do think one thing that I must have is a spirit of ambition. So if you lack ambition, I'm just not attracted to you. Um, I have no physical type, no family requirements, different things like that, no education level, occupation requirements. I can't think of things like those. I want you to be,
Believe in God.
kind
That's one
of
of
believe in God first and foremost. I think I'm frozen. And then of ambition, and able to adapt to different situations. Because my life is full of dichotomous situations. Like, you might be at a dental conference one day and you might be at my uncle's house the next day. And those are two totally different atmospheres that you need to be able to adapt to as a person who's going to be involved in the going ons of my life. So, I think those are things. I think people have the misconception that professionals have a certain level of requirements that they want out of a mate, and I don't think I have those necessarily. Just ambition.
Cool. What about you? When you think about dating somebody, what are some of the characteristics or qualities that you look for?
Well, kind of to piggyback on, you know, what's been said too. I think one thing, of course, a relationship with God, like that's, without question, has to be done. I think one thing that would frustrate me is somebody who feels like they're looking for a relationship to complete who they are, or to make them whole or something like that. Like that would I couldn't deal with that, because I would need someone's going to, one, be a whole person, that can meet me as the whole person, and we can become, this whole entity. But also someone who is going to kind of challenge who I am, and not like in a combative way, but challenge who I am just as a human being, to push me. I think that was great what Shar said about the fact that, her boyfriend pushed her in ways that she hadn't been pushed before, that helped her to grow her business, and I think that's very desirable. Somebody who is willing to say to you, look, the way that you're doing things just might not be working. Like, let's try to switch this up. Somebody who's going to not agree with everything I say, not, always think that I'm, always right, and think that I'm always, because you get those people, they get in a relationship and they get real lovey-dovey, and they're like, just whatever you want to do, no, I need somebody who's going to say, no, this is not working. This is not cool. Like, you're wrong. I need that challenge, because I know for me personally, if
Corey,
I
that's
have
their
somebody. Say what?
Corey, that's their representative. That's not them for real.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's what it is too. It's like you usually get that side, and then you realize, wait a minute, you crazy. But no, just think it's really important that you have somebody who really is going to really push you to be your best self, but also is willing to hear what you have to say, hear your opinion on things. Um, Hear your advice, or what you bring to the table, but that comes into the relationship not needing anything from you, but saying, look, this is who I am, this is what. And I'm not saying that they have to have, like, I don't have rules like you got to have so much money or you got to be this or that, but I would say that I need for somebody to have their head on straight, to say, look, I'm one whole complete person, I want to meet a whole complete person, so we can make something beautiful. Sure, got a hand up.
So
Sure.
I was somebody who did have non-negotiables, and one of them was I need to be able to be my whole complete self with you. I don't want to be walking around the house feeling like I'm putting on to be this person you think I am. And I
Right.
made it very clear in the beginning with anybody I was dating. You know how most girls need this much attention? I need this much attention. So you already have your expectations laid out for you. I think people can't let you down unless you give them expectations. A lot of things happen in relationships and they go bad because people are upset because somebody disappointed them and let them down, but you never told them what you expected from them. And if you never told me, I can't be held responsible for that.
Clear
That's so
communication is
good.
essential.
So
So
true. From the
communication is
beginning.
essential.
Yeah, Char made a good
And
point.
I'm
I
gonna
think a
over
lot of times,
communicate.
Char made a good point though, because I think talking about any relationship, it could be a friendship, shoot, and it doesn't even have to be, boyfriends or girlfriends, but any relationship I think is important where you kind of set boundaries or parameters for who, what you need as a person. If you're in college and you have a roommate, one thing that roommates should do is say, hey, look, uh, you do whatever you want to on your side of the room, but on my side of the room in this dorm, I need for you not to be piling up junk. Like, there needs to be rules set for, I think, every relationship. And I think it's important for people to be very open and honest about, look, this is what I can deal with, and this is what I cannot deal with, so that when things do come, you're not like, oh, I didn't know that this was, that you were going to wig out on me on like this. No, you knew, because I told you from the beginning, I can't deal with this. So I think it's really important that people are very open and honest about what they want, what they expect, what they're willing to take, and what they're not willing to take. And I think a lot of times we don't do that, and then we waste sometimes 5, 6, 7 months with somebody we really never took the time to really get to know. We just like the idea of being in a relationship, and it looks good and it sounds good to be able to post your little Instagram stories and your pictures and tell your friends, oh, I got somebody, and oh, we're just so in love. It's like, well, are you? Do you really even know this person? And then you find out, months from that point, that you have no clue who this person is.
Yeah, that's so good. Somebody asked a question earlier. I didn't get the name, one of the questions came through tonight was, do you think that things are going to change? Yeah, how do you think post COVID-19 activities will change for singles? So once it's all over with, do you think it's going to change how singles operate? That's a good question. Thanks for sending that online. That's on Facebook. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that a lot of these virtual relationships will be, tested and, and to see where they might lead. And some things are going to be not what they were intended to be, and some things are going to work out for some people. I think more people are going to be more comfortable with online dating, things like that. I think it's going to open up a lot of good conversations. What I feel like this time of social distancing allows is you to not put on and not have any of those physical things that get in the way people making educated decisions about partners, but really getting to know people. I think that's what this situation really allows for singles to do, like getting to know someone, talking to them, spending quality time. Intimacy doesn't have to just be physical. It can be, knowing that side of that person. And this is a time that brings out a lot of different emotions in people: fear, anxiousness, and you get to visualize. I mean, you get to see all of those things manifesting in everybody's life right now.
Charlotte, let me ask you something, Char. What was it about Quiz? Like I said, I've known you, your family, they all agree with me. We've never seen you with anybody through Cedar
It was on
Grove,
purpose.
through that. All right, well, that was on purpose. So, what was it about Quiz for you that out of your entire life, he's the only guy you ever brought around your family? What was it about him?
So this is like post me realizing I am moving in a direction to where I want to be in a serious relationship. Because even my relationships before that, although they may have lasted a long time, we didn't know each other on like a deeper level. When we first started dating, we went out every day for like a whole entire month. He would tell me, like, because I'm like, I want to see you all the time. He like, if you want to see me, I'll make it a priority for me to see you. And I think being told that I was a priority, it made me feel safe, and it made me feel comfortable to be vulnerable. And but like, what was it? I don't know. He just brought some things out of me that I had never been comfortable sharing. And we had like really deep conversations about life stuff that nobody knew about me except for my sister, or my best friend. And he just made me feel comfortable to be my whole self. And that's all I ever wanted. I just wanted to always be accepted for my full self, because even my mom would be like, you just a lot. And he knew I was a lot, and he was okay with me being a lot.
Yeah, I asked that question because for people who may be trying to, for guy who may be trying to introduce himself or to make himself available to somebody he may be interested in, just trying to get some help for somebody who may be watching. But you made a statement earlier about you decided just to be a risk taker, that the worst thing that could happen was death. And if he died, that at least you could say that you were able to experience love. I'm gonna come back to that in a moment because somebody asked a question: how do you date your mate? How do you handle your mate working in an essential field while dating? That's a great question. Somebody who's online: how do you handle your mate working in an essential field while dating? I know we got some very bright people on this broadcast today. How would you answer that question? Anybody? What kind of encouragement or support would you offer to that person who's watching? We asked that question.
I have friends who are essential workers, and I ask them what do they do with their families, or a lot of them are married. So what they do is they home and they sure one that if they're feeling any kind of way that they keep their distance from family. But for the most part, most of them report that they're just being extra precautious about the things that they bring into their home. Regular day-to-day life, you know, they're busier now, so a lot of things that happen they are doing by themselves because their shifts have changed. They're working longer hours. Like my sister and her husband, he's a detective, and so he's working 12-hour shifts for 3 days in a row, and they have a family at home, so that leaves a lot of responsibility on her. But when he gets home, you know, she wants to make the most of their time together. Take some of that burden off of that person because they're living this every day. So while you're dealing with your fears, try to bring some peace and, you know, offer a relief from their daily experience with this pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Corey, what would
Well,
you
one
say?
of my
How would you answer that question,
clients,
Corey? Go ahead, Shamar. Where's Shar?
well, one of my clients, she is a pediatric nurse. And at the point where we were just rescheduling appointments, and she was like, well, I really, really need to come in. And I'm like, girl, you on the front lines. Like, you're going to have to take some extra precautions. I don't even know if I feel comfortable with you coming into the salon. And then literally like 2 hours later, she made this post on Instagram where this lady was getting sprayed off with a water hose. And she was like, this is what my friends and family make me feel like when I get off work. And I felt so bad because everybody's making jokes about it. It's like, you need to be sprayed down, but you don't know what type of emotional roller coaster they've been on for that day. So I think we need to relax on the jokes, be a little more, lean into that person a little more about their emotions and their feelings to make sure they're keeping a level head and not being stressed out about it. Because it's funny. Black people can make up jokes about stuff all day, every day. But people are really living this. So we need to be a little sensitive to it.
Yeah, Corey, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, as Shar said, like, you know, my first thought would be to probably Lysol somebody down. That's an essential worker before they come in the house. But you know, that's on the joking side. But I will say this: this past Wednesday, some members of the Sea Choir we sang with Greg, we were able to go to Grady, um, right outside, I guess, one of the sides of the emergency unit. And there were just some of the healthcare workers were out there. We had on masks, we had on gloves and everything, and we were, you know, socially distanced. But we sang for them. We sang a few uplifting songs for them, and they were appreciative of just having that time. And I think more than anything, really, what that did is it took them away from what they are dealing with. And I think that's probably the most important thing that we could do for somebody that's an essential worker right now is just take them away from that day-to-day grind that they've been on for the last month, and try to, you know, uplift them in any way we can, you know. And I mean, we sang maybe 4 songs, but just those 4 songs, you could just tell that like some of them were crying, some of them were like clapping and, you know, just excited or whatever. Some of them were raising the roof. I didn't know people still do that. But they were doing a lot of different things. Yeah, I mean, those just that little gesture for them, you know, meant so much. Just so that they would just be taken away, because I can only imagine what they are seeing, you know, being on the front lines of this thing on a day-to-day basis from the people that are coming in. And, you know, what we've heard is that a lot of these medical facilities don't even have the room for the potential numbers that are coming in. So that's got to be a lot of stress. And then for your own, you know, safety to be at risk, that's got to be even added stress. And you have people have families at home and, you know, loved ones at home, and they don't want to end up infecting anybody. So I think the best thing that we can definitely do for those people is try our best to, you know that there are people that are praying for them, that are trying to uplift them, whether we're doing something to make them laugh or smile. And I think, Shar, I get what you were saying, because I believe that's probably what you were trying to do. You were trying to, you know, make your friend laugh, even though all of this craziness is going on. But she's probably just tired of the jokes at this point, maybe. I don't know. But I think whatever we can do to try to just keep their minds off of what's going on, I think is really important.
Yeah, you guys are phenomenal. You make me so proud. I was thinking about something earlier um, about how COVID-19 is affecting disproportionately African American community. Like in Louisiana, over 70% of the deaths are blacks. In
Hmm.
Michigan and in Illinois,
Yeah.
over 40% of COVID deaths are African Americans. And it's
Hmm.
affecting a lot of our vulnerable populations, those who've had some predisposition, those who, you know, immunocompromised, et cetera, and even younger people. But one of the things that was interesting to me, um, I was thinking today and talking to Andre about it, that one of our musicians at the church, he's been with me 10 years, Justin Gilbert, our organ player. And Justin has literally traveled the world with me. You know, he's not just a member of the church and a musician, but he's my friend. And his father passed away last week with complications of COVID-19, and he just went down real fast. And I just seen him a couple weeks ago at another bishop's funeral. Our very close friend, Bishop Steve Hall, who passed away. We were at his funeral together on March 9th, and I saw Justin's father at that funeral, and two other pastors who were also at that funeral, who were in proximity to Overseer Gilbert, who's Justin's father. They also contracted COVID-19. And it just made me think about mortality. And you know, Shar, your grandmother is, you know, who we all love, up in age. She's elderly. And Lanisha, your family, you and Corey can kind of relate to me in this regard that, you know, Alicia, your mother recently passed away. Um, and you're still getting back to normal, and that's still kind of fresh, you know, probably a little over a year that that's taking place. So how are you navigating this, the business, and still processing that grief, because it's still been relatively fresh for you and your sister? How you navigating that?
Well, I actually had a long time like classmate whose mom passed away from COVID-19 during this whole process. And, you know, the feeling of losing a parent is something that no one can kind of prepare you for. Um, with losing both my mom and my dad within a 2-3 year time period, that's a lot to kind of to withstand. And so, especially in the climate of today where you can't have as many people to celebrate their life, um, you have to kind of be there for people in ways that you weren't there before. And so, what I would, try to tell people to do to support people who are losing close family members is it's the immediate loss of their family member, but this is going to go on for forever. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about my mom and my dad. I am grateful that I was able to be a caretaker for both of those, but it is such a burdensome thing to do, to kind of watch your family members die. And I never want to do that again in life. Um, but that, the loss of a parent is hard for someone to cope with. So the best thing to do is to tell them to take it day by day, moment by moment, seek counseling when needed, rely on friends and family. But it's hard to in this situation where we're socially distancing from people. So you got to take that extra step out of your day and be mindful of those people. It's the little things. Like I had a friend of mine whose dad's birthday was yesterday, and he passed away within the past year or so. I had another friend whose sister passed away this past November. She had to celebrate her first birthday alone. Giving them ideas of ways to commemorate and still keep the memory of their loved one in their mind, so that they know that you're always thinking of them just like they are.
Yeah, Corey, I want to ask you that question. Yours is a little different. Lanisha's situation is still very fresh. You know, we just funeralized her mother a little over a year ago. But Corey, your mother passed when you were younger. Does that
Hmm.
still have an impact on your life now? You know, dating or the season? How have you been able to navigate and do so well? And I'm sure she's proud of you, your family's proud of you. But how has your mother's death impacted you as a single man?
So yeah, my mother passed when I was 13. So at that point in my life, I'm still very much a child, very much so a child. made me grow quickly. I will say, and it's one of those things that, you know, anybody who's lost anybody close to them, it's one of those things that prior to that happening, you would somebody, you know, if something happened to my mother or my brother or my sister or my father, I don't know what I would do. Well, when it happens, you have no choice but to figure out something to do. So I mean, I'm very grateful to God that you know, I didn't lose my mind completely, or that I didn't, you know, fall into doing some crazy activities, or just fall into just being like some terrible person or whatever. I mean, anything could have happened, I'm sure, from that point. But I'm very thankful that, you know, I was granted some sense of peace and have been able to pretty much maintain since then. But I will say that, as Lanisha said, it's something that I don't care when it happens. There's not a day that goes by, and I don't have to consciously even try to think about my mother. I can just be looking out the window and some thought pop in my head, or I could be eating and some thought pop into my head. And so, you know, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about her. And I think with me, just navigating in life, you know, with relationships, friendships, everything, um, it's like her voice is still right there. You know, things that she taught me, things that she instilled in me are still right there. Even just in work and everything I do, really, there's some facet of something that she taught me that is always present to kind of center me or to humble me, so to speak, and to kind of just remind me of, you know, one thing I think a good mother always does with her children is she kind of reminds them of who they are. You know, like, you are special, you are great, you are, you know, worthy, you are a king, you are a queen. And I think having I'm grateful that my mother, you know, she passed when I was young, but I wasn't so young that I don't have any memory of her, or I wasn't so young that I don't remember those, you know, those things that she taught me, or those things that she had to say to me. So I'm very grateful that I can still refer back to some of those things. So if I'm doing something that's just like a little dumb, I can say, oh yeah, my mama probably would knock me upside the head for this. So let me get it together. So I mean, it's a blessing and a curse in some ways, because, like I said, it made me grow up in a way that a lot of other kids didn't have to, but it also it made me grow up in a way where some of those lessons that I was taught, I had to apply them very quickly in life. As opposed to normally some of those lessons you don't start to get until later on. Like, oh yeah, this is why my parents told me to do this. Like, some of those lessons I had to get very quickly, and I had to adhere to them very quickly so that I didn't go down a bad path.
Well, you know,
Can I
it's
say
so
this too?
beautiful. Go ahead, Anisha.
I think that in response to your more direct question about dating after losing a parent, it's definitely more difficult. You have to, one, give yourself time to heal and deal with the emotions of such a great loss. Like I said, it's nothing that compares to it in your life, and it's nothing that you're gonna. And I didn't easily rebound from it, and so um, I think that anybody's dating someone who has recently lost a parent or a really close loved one needs to be aware of that, as well as someone who's single and lost a parent, because it's a different feeling too. Sometimes you feel
Mm,
like you're left here alone, and
mm-hmm,
you never want to feel that way. But you got to rely on family and friends to fill those areas that you feel like when you get down, because there'll be plenty of times when you get down and you feel like no one's left here on this earth for me but me. um just to realize that, one, you always have God, two, you always have your family and your friends, and three, they left you with so many wonderful memories and lessons that you have to live on and live in honor of them every day. Yeah.
That's great.
sure.
You know,
Mhm.
you guys are awesome. You know, it's amazing. Corey, you made a good point, you know, about mothers instilling you know, your identity and telling you who you are. And so, Anisha, your mother told you you're gonna be special, and you're special. Corey, your mom told you you're gonna be a king, and you're a king. Shar, your mother told you that you are a lot, and she's right. You are a lot. So with all so so with all those things being said, Shar, if you had to give one word of encouragement to the singles who are watching from your life and from your experiences, those who are watching right now, there are thousands of singles watching right now, really all over the world, literally. If you had to give a word of encouragement for singles who are trying to come through this pandemic and come through life, what would you say to them right now?
Know your worth. Don't settle. But also be willing to step outside of your box and talk to different people, see what they have to offer you, because you just never know. You have to give people a chance. Give people a chance. That's my message.
Outstanding. Thank you. Lanisha, thousands of people watching right now, thousands of singles in the city watching from all over the world, literally. You know, from your life, from your experiences, what kind of word of encouragement would you offer to any singles who are watching right now?
I think my words would be that we have to embrace our season of singleness and do the best with our responsibility in that time, whether it's getting to know ourselves, developing what we want to have in a partner, establishing yourself as the best mate that you can be for someone else, and getting to know God and being close with those family members. All relationships serve a purpose. And so learn from as much of those relationships as you can possible, and definitely be open to many different situations, and people and experiences that you can.
Thank you so much. That you triggered something for me right quick. Shar, you said something earlier. I heard you say earlier in our pre-production time. I thought was major. I want to kind of pick it back before I go to Corey and close this thing out. You talked about before you got into a serious relationship, you were always looking for guys, but you had to come to a self-realization by looking at yourself. And I want you to share that because I thought it kind of piggybacks off what Lanisha said. That's a powerful thing I think people need to hear. Would you share that with us again, Shar?
I will. I asked myself, would I date myself? And I had to be very introspective, think about what I had to offer as a businesswoman, what I had to offer as a partner. I dated this guy before, and he said, you either a liability or you're an asset. And you need to determine which one you are. And I knew I wanted to become an asset to someone. But first, I had to become an asset to myself. So I just took time to work on myself. I prayed more for guidance. I prayed for trusting in God so that I knew that I was making the right decisions. So it was more about working on me. And at the time where I felt like I was a catch, I was going on dates and I'd be telling guys like, I'm a catch. I need you to realize that. I was very confident in that because I knew how hard I had worked on myself and I wasn't going to settle for anything less. So work on yourself so that when the special person comes along, you're able to be your most authentic self and you can accept them for their self as well.
That's good.
Outstanding. Corey, from your experiences, you're going through a lot in life, from Gainesville to Tuscaloosa to Atlanta. For those singles who are watching, from your experiences for your life, what kind of words of encouragement would you share to the singles who are watching right now, Corey?
So I'll say, and this is not like a plug for Netflix or anything, but for those who watch Love is Blind, this is your Love is Blind moment. You can't touch nobody, can't really go nowhere. So you can have a Love is Blind date virtually now online, and get to know someone like that. And I mean, you can look at this as a time to, I think Lanisha said it earlier, like get to know somebody on a more authentic level than you might possibly get to know them if you were able to go out on dates. Because I think a lot of times on on that dating phase, we can be a little superficial because we present what we want people to see for that time, and then when we snag the person, we turn into who we really are. So this is an interesting time that we're not going to be able to go out on dates and do those things that we normally do, those activities. So you might have to present who you really are at this time. And I think it's very important for singles, for everybody really, to understand this really is a time of reset. And this is a time to really focus on who we are. And I think one question that we have to ask ourselves is, who do we want to be when this whole thing is said and done and we're able to go back to normal life, whatever that is? Who do we want to be once we come out of this? Who do you, how do you want to represent who you are? How do you want to represent God? How do you want to represent your family and your friends? Like, who do you want to show that you are, and who do you want to be now, that you have this time to really, be introspective and really, spend that time with yourself to really get to know who you are, get to know who God is, who God says you are, and come out of this as whatever you're going to be after this. And another thing I want to say real quick, whatever God is trying to say in this hour with this whole Rona situation, I need for y'all to be, everybody to listen. Everybody that's watching this, I need y'all to listen, because we don't need to ever go through this anymore, ever again. So whatever he's saying, please listen, please get it, so we don't have to do Rona again. Okay? Thank you.
Hey, Shar, Anisha, Corey, I wish you could see this little heart of mine. I'm so honored to have this opportunity to have this broadcast with you guys as a man and as a pastor. I wish you could see this heart of mine, to see just the substance and the depth and the authenticity in which you represented yourselves, your God, your families, and your church. It just makes my heart so overjoyed. So thank you for sharing your experiences. Such a wonderful dialogue, as you've seen people already comment on it, and we've got hundreds of others who commented the same. So thank you for sharing. I pray God's blessings on all of you, and thank you for what you poured out. And those who are watching, I hope you've been blessed by this episode of Single in the City. We've had some of the best people that you can find anywhere to come and share, and they dropped a lot of nuggets on us, a lot of positivity. Hope you've been blessed by. Hope you've been encouraged. Hope you've been inspired as you've been watching this Hope TV broadcast of Single in the City. And as Shar has testified, as Lanisha has testified, and as Corey's life has also personified, that no matter what your challenges are, you can make it. You can be through them and still be productive and still accomplish great things. So I speak great blessings on your life. Please, if you watch this, send it to somebody. Subscribe to our pages, like the page, and also send it to somebody you know will benefit from it. I thank you for your time that you spent with us. I want to thank this great panel again. We're going to get ready to close this broadcast of Single in the City. But as always, please remember this: if you will be good to God, then God will be good to you. Thank you. Peace. Enjoy the broadcast. Peace.